All right, so you're ready to learn how to code. That's awesome. But then you immediately hit that first giant wall, right? The question, with hundreds of languages out there, which one do you actually learn first? It feels overwhelming, but don't worry. In the next few minutes, we're going to cut right through the noise and give you a solid way to figure out the right choice for you.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at the huge maze of options out there. Then we'll get real and look at what the job market is actually paying for. After that, we're going to bust a huge myth about what makes a language easy, and then we'll get into why context is literally everything. And finally, we'll wrap it all up and give you a clear path forward.
You know that feeling? You're all fired up to learn to code, and then, bam! You see the list? C++, Java, Python, Rust, Go. It just keeps going. It is completely natural to feel a little lost in all that noise.
And that is the question that trips up so many people. A really common first step is to just look at what's popular, what's in demand. I mean, it seems logical, right? If a language is popular, there have to be jobs. So let's actually dig into the data on that.
Okay, so when you look at what companies are actually hiring for, a really clear picture starts to form. There are a few languages that just consistently dominate the scene. I like to call them the big three.
And here they are, the numbers don't lie. According to the latest data, recruiters are overwhelmingly hunting for developers who know Python, JavaScript, and Java. I mean, look at this. Almost half of all recruiters are looking for Python skills. JavaScript and Java are right behind. These are, without a doubt, the heavyweights.
And Python's growth in particular has just been, well, explosive. The reason it just vaulted to the #1 spot on places like GitHub, it's all because of the massive boom in two little fields you may have heard of: artificial intelligence and data science. In that world, Python is absolutely king. So the bottom line is that each of these languages has its own turf. Python's famous for its clean, simple-looking code, which makes it a huge favorite for beginners and, of course, the backbone of AI. JavaScript is basically the engine of the internet. It makes websites interactive. And Java? That's the super reliable workhorse for giant corporate applications and Android apps. So case closed, right? Just pick one of these and you're good to go? Well, not so fast.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. It's so easy to look at that data and think, okay, the most popular language must also be the easiest one to learn. But is that really true?
Let's really challenge that assumption. We hear it constantly. Oh, Python is so much easier for beginners. It has a smoother learning curve. But what does the evidence actually say?
So a group of researchers ran this huge study to test exactly that idea. They took almost 7,000 students, gave them identical programming assignments, but had them do it in different languages: Python, Java, and C++. And then they just measured what happened.
And the results were, frankly, pretty shocking. You'd expect the Python students to have finished way faster, right? But look at this chart. The median time it took to finish the work was almost the same for all three. Python didn't really provide any significant time-saving advantage.
And it was the same story when they looked at how much effort it took. This chart shows the number of times students had to run their code to get it right. And again, pretty much a flat line. The amount of struggle was basically the same across the board. Python wasn't a shortcut to the right answer.
And this all points to the study's big aha moment. The real struggle for new programmers isn't the syntax. It's not the specific rules of a language. It's learning the fundamental skills of problem solving and logical thinking. That's the real mountain to climb, and it doesn't matter which language you're using to climb it. So, if the idea of an easy language is kind of a myth, and the most important skills can be used anywhere, then how in the world do you choose? Well, the answer is actually a lot simpler than you think. You pick the right tool for the job. Context is king.
Let's look at a perfect example: Go versus Rust. Both are powerful, modern languages. You'd pick Go if your main goal is to build something fast, like a service for the cloud. But if your absolute top priorities are raw performance and making sure your code is bulletproof safe, like for a part of an operating system, you'd choose Rust, even though it's harder to learn.
Or how about this one? C++ versus Rust. For decades, C++ was the undisputed champion of speed. But Rust came along with a killer value proposition. It offers that same level of performance, but it has this incredible feature called a borrow checker that prevents whole categories of nasty memory bugs before you can even run your code. It's a brilliant solution to a problem that's frustrated C++ developers for years.
But does that mean C++ is dead?
No way. Far from it. In industries like AAA video game development, high-frequency trading, or aerospace, its decades of maturity, its raw power, and all the existing tools mean it's still the best tool for those jobs. It's all about the context.
And this brings us to the single most important idea in this entire explainer. It's a mental model that will help you make the right choice every single time. And I call it the law of suitability.
The law of suitability is really simple. It just says there is no such thing as a single best programming language, period. It's just like a toolbox. There's no best tool. You wouldn't use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. The best tool is always the one that is most suitable for the problem right in front of you.
Let's use an analogy to make this crystal clear. What's the best water bottle? Well, if you're stranded and thirsty in the desert, the best one is the cheap plastic one you can get from the vending machine right now. If you're going on a long hiking trip, the best one is probably the durable metal one you can boil water in. And at the office, the simple, reusable one is best. The bottle itself doesn't change, the problem does.
This quote from Ryan Michael K. at Free Code Camp just says it all perfectly. The search for the one best language is a fool's errand. The real question you should be asking isn't, what's the best language? It's, what problem am I trying to solve?
Okay, so with all that in our heads, how do you actually move forward? How do you make a choice? Let's distill all of this down into some clear, actionable advice.
Here are the 3 things I really want you to take away from this. First, focus on the fundamentals. Your logic and problem-solving skills are worth more than any single syntax. Second, don't get stuck. The skills you learn in your first language will make learning the second one 10 times easier, I promise. And most importantly, match the tool to the task. Start by asking, what do I want to build? Want to make a website? Learn JavaScript. Want to get into data science? Learn Python. Let the project pick the language for you.
And I'll leave you with one final thought. As AI gets more and more powerful and starts writing a lot of our code for us, maybe the specific language we use will matter less and less. Maybe the most valuable skill a programmer can have in the future is just the ability to describe a problem clearly and logically. Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.